and welcome back. Before we proceed, may I take a moment to add some celebratory notes to this musical evening? It is our great joy and privilege to share with you the news that this year marks 25 years of the leadership of our chairman, Mr. Khushroo N at the NCPA. Suntook, Sir Jamshed Bhabha, and Mr. Tata Group on stage. We're also delighted to announce that APAC, the Association of Asia Pacific Performing Arts Centers, which is a network of over 75 internationally registered arts organizations, has elected Mr. Suntook to its executive committee. From the Sydney Opera House to the Royal Arts Complex in Saudi Arabia. In a first for India, the NCPA will host the annual APAC conference in 2027, made possible under the stewardship of Mr. Suntook. Having had an illustrious career spanning over 4 decades in business, Mr. Suntook was invited to lead the National Centre for the Performing Arts by its visionary founder, Dr Jamshed Bhabha. He was certain that this institution would attain new heights under his strength and colleague at the Tata Group. That we have gathered here to listen to India's first professional symphony orchestra, founded by Mr. Suntook at the NCPA, which now presents over 600 programs a year, is a testament to that presence. It is our pleasure to be joined by Sir Khushroo N, 5th Baronet, and Sir Senior Counsel Mr. Dr Bhabha this evening. As Chairman and Trustee of numerous separate institutions and trusts, Sir Jamshed has championed the upliftment of society across communities and been decorated by the French Republic. He serves on the NCPA Council and has been supportive of the organization throughout. The grand marble staircase, which greets you at the entrance of this theatre, is among his gifts to the NCPA. We remain grateful to him for his continued support. Senior Counsel Mr. Dr Bhabha has been the Advocate General from Maharashtra and Additional Solicitor General of India. He has appeared in numerous significant matters and been honoured by the Government of Maharashtra for his distinguished service. Widely travelled and well regarded for his knowledge of music, Mr. Bhabha is a member of the NCPA Council. May I now invite him to say a few words.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What an honor it is for me to say a few words about my dear friend, Mr. Khushroo N. For most of us, Khushroo N is the NCPA. The NCPA is Khushroo N. But let me tell you a little bit about Khushroo before the NCPA years. Many of you would be surprised to know that he qualified for and played in some of the initial rounds of Wimbledon in the 1950s. It's a great gesture. And then for a large portion of his career, he sold cosmetics to the Soviet Union. That's really what makes the Russian woman so beautiful. He sold the cosmetics and paid back with lots of treasures, including Sofraninsky, which he bought in Gorky Park, 78, some things like that. So he has a wealth of treasures and stories about Russia. And that's not to say that he has a wealth and a treasure of knowledge about music, particularly opera. If you sat with him and listened to music, it's in his blood. He knows every nuance, every aria, the way different singers approach the same aria. He's got a magnificent collection of LPs, 78 CDs. Now, he streams music. Music is his absolute passion. And really, I think he is the ideal person to have chaired this institution and to have contributed so much to it for the last 25 years or so. Khushroo is a warrior. He loves life. He loves good food, great wine, anything of refinement, but above all song, above all song. And he's a very good singer as well, as we just heard. I wanted to encapsulate what I thought of Khushroo in 2 words, and I thought no better comparison than this. I think the most signal contribution Khushroo has made to the life of music and to art and culture in India has been his conception and his establishment of the symphony orchestra in India, the SOR. Now, behind every great institution stands a great man or woman. And I can think of 2 in history. Walter Lake, who founded the Philharmonia Orchestra after World War II, made up largely of refugees from Europe, people who had escaped the Nazis, made their lives in England, and he formed this great, great orchestra, which became one of the finest orchestras in the world. And Rudolf Bing, about the same time, assumed his directorship of the Metropolitan Opera. I think the best compliment I can give to Khushroo is he's a combination of Walter Lake and Rudolf Bing. So I think on this occasion, we must and do honor him, and we present a token of our appreciation to him. But before that, a standing ovation.
To venerate Mr. Santook's 25 years of honorary service to the NCPA and pioneering contributions to the highest standards of artistic excellence in India, I now invite Mr. Jamshed to present him with a plaque and a token of her appreciation.
I
I didn't deserve this at all, and I am very embarrassed with the extraordinary flattering speech by the great advocate. He is himself a combination of Dr Jamshed Bhabha and Nani Bhabha. Yes, and a great lover of music, very knowledgeable. I know his pedigree. His uncle was a dear friend of mine, and we used to go collecting records at Chor Bazaar every Sunday for 50 years. His father was a great music lover. We used to listen to music in Bombay House. So the pedigree is perfect for him. I am deeply grateful for this great honor bestowed on me. Thank you. Both I have said about the rest. And Suntook, my young friend, whose father was one of my closest friends, and whose family has enriched our theatres with a marvelous staircase and the exquisite chandeliers in the Tata Theatre lobby. And of course, a cupboard which he wants back. You do not know how much it means to me, this honor, since in some ways it indicates that I have to some extent at least fulfilled the trust reposed in me by Dr. Bhabha. The long and arduous journey could not have been even partly accomplished had it not been for our supportive council, of which the rest is the most distinguished member, my colleagues, my friends, our lawyer staff, and which are a source of pride, and of course all of you wonderful supporters, without which there would be no performance. Now that India is a major economic power, I believe there is an area that the country needs to address. I think as Gandhiji once said, I want the culture of all lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible. We have taken note of this. Unfortunately, unlike many countries, although there are more than 1,000 orchestras in the world, we as a super economic power only have one today, professional. I think it's time that we spread this clout, and each city at least should have one. Please believe me when I say that absorption in the love of music, literature, theatre, etc. ensures us that you will never be alone in your life. The SOI is our great pride. It's wonderful because of the dedication they have, the love they have, and for my friend Marat, who created this, I give my grateful thanks. Sorry for the long speech now. I think the SOI is more important. Thank you.
where Mr. Suntook will be in conversation with Mr. Martin Brothers, newly appointed Chief Conductor of the SOI in January 2026. The conversation will take place at 6 p.m. tomorrow at the Experimental Theatre. Please register at the box office on your way out to concertgoers.com. And it is now time for some music. Let us please welcome back on stage Maestro and join us in the orchestra.
The NCPA was the brainchild of Dr. Jamshed Bhabha. And Dr. Jamshed Bhabha has a remarkable older brother who most of you have heard about. He was an atomic energy scientist par excellence, Dr. Bhabha. And also a great man of the arts. He was a painter, he played the violin, and his knowledge of music was extensive and tremendous. So Dr. Jamshed Bhabha would have remained in his shadow had it not been for the NCPA and his great drive to start. You will all remember that Johannes Brahms had a younger brother called Fritz. He was referred to as the wrong Brahms. There's no such thing with Dr. Bhabha. What he did for the arts, his older brother did for science and technology. Because Dr. Homi Bhabha actually wrote to the Sir Gaurav Tata Trust in order to endow a large sum of money to start what was then the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. This was 1944. Dr. Jamshed Bhabha did likewise 22 years later. And the letter he wrote to the same, to a different chairman, of course, of the trust, is a remarkable letter because he refers to Greece in some detail and speaks of Greek philosophy, Greek music, and then says that however Greek music died out. Now why did it die out? Because it was part of an oral tradition. So he says our Indian classical music is the same and it cannot ever die out. So there has to be a national center for the performing arts to preserve and sanctify our own music first. And this was his brainchild and this was his conception. Now, ultimately, it came to fruition in 1969 when J.R.D. Tata, in fact, laid the cornerstone of the new NCPA. And he said something remarkable. He said that this institution will probably be more important in the coming years than the steel that Tata Steel produces. Because Tata Steel was the flagship company of the Tatas at that point. So, what is remarkable is that with this great brainchild, we first started out with a smaller hall, the Tata Theatre, in 1980. Now, it was the first hall which had proper acoustics in India. Indian halls did not have acoustics. As a matter of fact, Urban Ford Karajan came here with the Vienna Philharmonic in 1958 and had to play in the St. Xavier's quadrangle in the open air. As a result of which he played only Strauss waltzes and yes, and Till Eugenspiegel. This was, I must have been 2 years old, so I didn't attend the concert. And the great Zubin Mehta kept coming back to his beloved city but could not really perform well because we are all to go to Matunga in what was then the Shanmukhananda Hall, which did not have acoustics to speak of at all. So, with the coming of the NCPA, you had the Tata Theatre to start with. Then you had the Experimental Theatre six years later. You had the Godrej Drama Theatre, Dance Theatre, another year later. And then, of course, this magnificent hall in 1999. And with this hall comes in Khushroo N. Now, Khushroo is the first person who realized that now that we have this massive hall, we have no symphony orchestra of our own, worthy the name. And I remember in conversations with him in Mahabaleshwar, about at least 30 to 40 years ago, you can correct me if I am wrong, this was his conception from then. And what he had told me was that we must have the players from the Russian satellite countries, including Kazakhstan, come here and perform in their winter. And our winter, therefore, would be conducive to their performing with our Indian musicians. And we must build an orchestra. And that's something he told me about 35 to 40 years ago. And it actually came to fruition in 2006 with the great Marat Vizangeliev, who is a master violinist, conductor, musician. And we then have heard these superb pieces played now for so many years. A little about Khushroo. Khushroo comes from a family of lawyers. Now, his grandfather was a judge, his great-grandfather was a judge, and his great-grandfather was known for a seminal judgment over 100 years ago, in 1908, for defining who are Parsi Zoroastrians. We belong to this little tribe. It's a tribe, it's not even a community. And he split the two and he said, Parsi denotes something ethnic, Zoroastrian denotes the religion. So you have to be born a Parsi first. Father has to be a Parsi. And then you accept what the universal religion makes you accept, which is you become Navjyotik. You have a new birth, so to speak. His own father was a senior partner in Mulla and Mulla, which is one of our most famous solicitor firms. A little thing about the founder of that firm. So Dinsha Mulla is to the law what Khushroo probably is to the arts today. And so Dinsha Mulla was a solicitor, an advocate, a privy councillor, which was the highest court at that point of time, and a writer of treatises on virtually every civil aspect of civil law. Now, very early in his career, he thought he might be a poet. So he wrote a letter to Alfred Lord Tennyson, who was the poet laureate in England, giving him a sample of poems and asking him whether he should perhaps take up poetry seriously. Thank God Khushroo did the exact opposite. Khushroo joined his father's solicitor's firm, decided the law is not for it. And because the law is not for it, we have Khushroo Suntook here, and we have Khushroo Suntook, the greatest son for the arts of Bombay, without doubt. Because what you have done for this city, nobody has done for this city. Now, Khushroo, you heard from Daraz, is a man of many parts. I didn't know he played tennis at Wimbledon. And that's tried to qualify. But anyway, that's not something that I knew. But I knew that you were a national level tennis player. I can also tell you he's one of the most brilliant conversationalists I have met in my life. Many other conversations we had. And one of the best teachers. Because we have discussed music in such detail, and I have learned so much from him. I mean, I have really learned from him. I have learned about the human voice. I have learned about the great singers of the past particularly. And I have also learned something which I didn't know, that in a collection of 78 RPM records, which he had, 78 RPM is a misnomer. You could go anywhere from say 65 to 95 depending on who had recorded what. So it is very important to know the exact figure so that you get the RPM right before you get the recording right. So these are the little lovely things that one has learned from Khushroo. And apart from all this, when we come back to the orchestra, you heard him play such fabulous, difficult pieces like the Mahler Fifth the other day, under our great maestro here. And I can tell you, I heard a Mahler Fifth in 1980 in my Harvard year. And it was Claudio Abbado conducting the London Symphony. And the very first note was wrong. The trumpet call was pa-pa-pa-pam, 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 if you remember. And this went pa-pa-pam. And Abbado did not stop it. Yeah, he didn't stop it. And I read years later that he didn't stop him because he had auditioned that morning for the Boston Symphony and was turned down. So the poor man would have collapsed. And there have been no Mahler Fifths. But you have this fabulous brass section in this orchestra. You have these extremely difficult pieces played to perfection. See the Tchaikovsky concerto and look at our soloist to it. Fabulous. I mean, it was outstanding. Now, the Tchaikovsky concerto was conducted today by an American conductor. Guess where it got its first performance? In America. It got its first performance in 1875 in Boston. And why in Boston? Because it was sought to be dedicated to Nikolai Rubinstein. Rubinstein just got it up and said, no, unplayable, I'm not going to play it. The dedication went then from Rubinstein to Hans von Bülow, who was the great conductor, first conductor in fact of the Berlin Philharmonic, and great player. And he played the concerto under a guy called Benjamin Lang in Boston for the first time in 1875. And then, ever since then, the concerto has been the war horse of so many brilliant players. In fact, in 1928, Horowitz played his Carnegie Hall debut with this concerto and under the baton of Sir Thomas Beecham. The best recording I can think of, and we must have heard at least 30, at least. We started, of course, with the famous John Ogden, Barberolli Philharmonic Orchestra, Dum Dum record from Calcutta, Indian record. But the best recording I can think of is the Horowitz recording of 12th January 1953, where he played under George Zell, and it was a live performance, New York Philharmonic. And that is something stunning. I mean, there are so many stunning recordings, but that's super stunning. Yeah, amazing. I mean, yeah. Of course, the record which sold the most was Van Cliburn. Because you remember in 1958, you had this lanky Texan in Moscow. The guy wins the competition. And then he plays under Kirill Kondrashin with the Moscow Philharmonic. And that record sold over 1 million copies. So it is amazing that this orchestra is today good enough to play pieces of this magnitude and play them so well. It's a great tribute only to Khushroo, who thought of this and who's put it into practice, and it's getting better and better year after year. Look at the people that he attracts. Look at the two maestros. Look at the soloists. This is all entirely due to him. He's a man who's able to attract people like this. So it is amazing as to what he has achieved and what he has done. This is, I'm told that Western classical music, so to speak, is only 14% of what is performed. It's a misnomer, according to me, to call this Western classical. It's no longer Western. It is absolutely Eastern. It's gone to the Far East more than it's gone to anywhere else. It is the greatest performers now and orchestras in China, Japan, Korea. You have geniuses like Lang Lang from China, for example. You have Liu Jia, you have so many. I mean, any number now. Pianists, violinists, orchestras, etc. And I think it's something, it's music now which is universal. It taps something universal in the human brain. I have no doubt about it. So it is a misnomer to keep referring to this in India particularly as Western as opposed to India. No, it is something that's universal. Now, apart, getting back to Khushroo's achievements, the Stuart Lift collection is another fantastic collection of some 11,000 LPs and 6,000 books, all of which were given by these great collectors to a great collector to do what he wanted with them. And what did he do? He gave it to the NCPA library so that everybody could enjoy it. And he's even started in Dr. Bhabha's name, a lecture series. You'll be hearing the rest in a few days. And I remember I was the third, I think, in that series of lectures that was given. And I embarked on a project which almost finished me, because the project was a comparison between Wagner's Ring, which was a music drama, in 4 operas, or a prologue and 3 operas, and Mahabharata, which is the most fabulous epic ever written. Way, way greater than the Iliad, the Odyssey, etc. And both had heroes. Of course, the hero of the Ring is clear. The hero of the Mahabharata is a little unclear, but Karna perhaps takes the place as the hero. And both could not be undone except by strategy. Now, apart from this, there were so many other interesting features which I found. And thanks to Khushroo, Khushroo told me that, no, it will be very difficult for an audience to grapple with all this. So, I did something that was unprecedented. We had a booklet, if you remember. And the booklet explained the Mahabharata and explained the Ring to a lay audience. And on either side of me, I had names of all the characters in the Mahabharata. He instituted this lecture series. I'm sure you will hear a brilliant lecture from the rest, as you heard today. And the greatest thing, of course, is that our own Zubin has come back to us, which is fabulous. You know, we've had this series of concerts 2023, 2024, And he loves coming back to us. And we've had some fabulous concerts. His Einhelden Leben was the level of the Mahler Fifth. It was fabulous. And as were so many other concerts. And you've also had great Indian players, Zakir Hussain for example, and any number of them, dancers. And Zakir Hussain has composed fusion music also for the orchestra. There's a triple concerto that he's composed. Imagine. And the concerto is for sitar, for tabla, and for bansuri with the orchestra. So you've had all sorts under his leadership. And very recently we had Herbie Hancock. Now Herbie Hancock is a genius jazz musician, but he started out as a classical musician. And at age 11 he played Mozart's Coronation Concert with the Chicago Symphony. Really? Yes. So we've had all sorts under his stewardship. And I think I've taken far more time than I should have. But then he's a very dear friend. So I can only end by saying that I want to quote Evelyn Waugh on P.G. Woodhouse. Said, Mr. Woodhouse's idyllic world will never stale. It will continue to release future generations from a captivity more irksome than our own. Now paraphrase it with Khushroo Suntook's idyllic world, music and arts world will never stale. He will continue to release us from a captivity more irksome than our own. Please give him a standing ovation.
And who can follow that eloquence? Very difficult. Here we have two great lawyers of India talking about me, and I have to follow with a very poor response. Rohinton, dear friends and comrades in arms as far as music is concerned, his phenomenal memory is something that is legend in the courts of India. He remembers everything. You dare not say anything 7 years ago which he doesn't quote to you. He is, in my view, the most rounded personality as far as literature, religion, comparative religions, law, and also the very, very, very common attitudes towards aesthetics and ethics. His wonderful family is, of course, celebrated. His father was a celebrated lawyer, and Rohinton now has resigned and has just come back after doing 7 operas in Vienna. Greatly jealous of this, but he has taken the right decision. I want to thank all of you folks here for having supported the NCPA, and particularly the orchestra. And I hope that the message that India needs more than one orchestra, needs more injection into culture, spreads to the affluent society, which now spends more time on fashion shows, all sorts of rubbishy shows in different parts of India, which cover the press. The press is, sorry to say, extremely, extremely commercial and not at all akin to having anybody who can write anything at all for the visual arts or the performing arts. I think we should start a fund to educate people to write intelligently for performing music. And I think the NCPA should do this. Also, I want to sort of give my tribute to Marat for having come here And it's due to a strange incident which happened in London many years ago. Brenda and I were walking to our flat in London and we saw this advertisement saying there is a concert by Marat with players from Kazakhstan. So we said, let's go and hear it. It was amazing. There were these lovely ladies and Marat, young and vibrant, playing wonderfully well. And I said, this is unusual. It's people from Kazakhstan playing Vivaldi and all sorts of things. So let's go backstage and talk to them. And Brenda said, well, let's go back and call them. I said, no, don't disturb them. Because I think it was a political thing with lots of people from the House of Commons there also. So anyway, we went backstage and we asked him that, would you like to come to India? He said, what's in India? So we said, well, come and see. And so, to cut a long story short, he came. He saw and he conquered. And he brought this lovely orchestra, and Dr. Bhabha, who had an eye for beauty, as well as an ear for music, saw them and he said, I think we should call them. I said, don't you want to hear them first? He said, oh, yes, after the concert. Anyway, they were here. Marat came. He brought his color, and so we started. But I said, Marat, the point that we want to make really is that there must be Indians in the orchestra. And he said, yes, give me 10 or 15 years and we should have it. So we started auditions. You remember that, John? And it was Niet, the Niet went on and on and on. And then I said, what the hell is this? So one of the girls comes and says, Uncle, my hand is paining. I said, why? Because he's told me to hold it up without a violin for 5 minutes. And I'm not coming again. Anyway, we had an established group of people who are still in the orchestra. And we started. And it proceeded slowly, etc. And now, after 18 years, I think it's 18 years, I think we have a reasonable orchestra. Everybody said, but there are not enough Indians in it. I said, please have a look at the Berlin Philharmonic. How many Germans are there? I said, it's full of Koreans, Chinese and Japanese. Mr. Karayan is surely turning in his grave, but he can be there because that's the story. Also, I think every YouTube picture you see, there are players from all over the world in the best orchestras. So there's nothing strange about the way we started. Of course, our academy, which has been established by him, has many promising players, including a 6-year-old youngster who plays Mozart quite well. He has been a dear and earnest friend, a supporter, and extremely loyal to our orchestra. And he is loved deeply. Please give him a hand. Nothing can go right unless you've got the right people behind you to support you. And I think our council is extremely now supportive. In fact, I must congratulate the Tata Trust for helping us to modernize, giving us large funds to modernize the Tata Theatre. We are grateful to them. Behind all this, to a large extent, is my friend Brenda. She has been a tireless worker, coming every day to office. Yes, very contradictory, but honest and therefore very acceptable. Also, I must thank her sister who comes regularly also. These people come to office as if it's their métier, and they charge nothing. How wonderful.
Wow.
Anyway, that's about it. I want to thank all of you for supporting us, and do send out a message that there is a little institution called the NCPA which needs support. In the end, I'll say, I've got a series of letters written by J.R.D. Tata to Mr. Jamshed Bhabha. In one of them, he says that you are my very best friend, and I think your vision is outstanding. The task you have taken on of establishing this center is of great importance, and I shall back it, and I hope that the Tata Group shall back it also. So he went out, and he couldn't find a piece of 8 acres of land. So they wrote to the Prime Minister, who was Indira Gandhi at the time. He asked the Chief Minister of Maharashtra to say, show Dr. Bhabha around and ask him where he can get 8 acres of land. So he came up to the Oberoi and he said, that's the end. Where do you expect me to give you land? So, do you want the sea? He said, yes, thank you. So he took the sea, and for 8 years they filled this land. You're sitting on a land which is it took a long time, and then it came to fruition. The first board, if you saw, consisted of Ravi Shankar, Carl Böhm, Zubin Mehta, and if you saw everybody who was anybody on the international field. The first concert he wanted to have, with Mrs. Gandhi coming in, was supposed to be an Indian concert, but Ravi Shankar was busy. So he said, we must have a concert because Mrs. Gandhi is coming. But I said, this is supposed to be for an Indian auditorium. Oh, hell with that. Get somebody. So I phoned an agent in Vienna who brought the English chamber orchestra. And when Mrs. Gandhi came, she said, but Jamshed, this is not an Indian auditorium. If you want to have Indian auditorium, you should build an opera house. And so the concert was over. This opera house thing went. And he came out after a long time, nothing happened. Then when we were sitting together, he said, you know, I think we should build an opera house. I said, where are you going to get the money from? So he said, got this piece of land. So he built the flats, sold the flats. I think he got 52 crores for it and spent 50 crores on the opera house. So we were left with 2 crores. And that was a delightful position in which I mostly entered. But then he left his home and his entire wealth to us, and that is what is keeping us going. Apart from the wonderful contributions made by our benefactors, many of them. Citibank is a wonderful helper. The HDFC, many others have given us crores of rupees, and for them, our grateful thanks, and I hope you continue. And thank you both, Dallas and Thing, for your great support, and I hope it genders some funds. Thank you again.